We're now joined in a studio by Luxolo, September CAF Head of Operations, who's going to be talking to us about a school program that will involve 20,000 schools across the continent. Luxolo, thank you very much for joining us.
Dumela Kwena, and it's great to be back home in South Africa. I know, Africa is my home now, but also South Africa still has a very special place in my heart.
And the best you could do is Dumela. You could have maybe given us like a CAF greeting or something.
Bonjour.
But thank you so much for coming through. Luxolo, one thing about the CAF president, Patrice Motsepe, he's been passionate, even before he joined CAF, passionate about schools football, about development, and about women's football. Is this part of that plan and that big dream of the president?
I think whenever we are evaluating the legacy of Dr. Patrice Motsepe's presidency, we must actually remember this word, investment. He's, from a business point of view, he understands this, but also from a football point of view. And this is basically the key word that he has been operating word with the African Schools, CAF, African Schools Football Championship, which will kick off, which kicked off a while ago. Obviously, the finals are going to be in Durban next week. Why this program? One of the biggest problems, not only in South Africa but globally, is the issue of development. It's opportunities to young people. It's giving hope to young people, giving platform to young people. The African Schools Football Championship involves 41 countries, about 40,000 schools, about 500,000 kids from all over the continent. It has been played from last year in April, kicked off in Mozambique with the national phase, with the zonal phases whereby all the CAF zones were competing. And now in Durban, for the first time, South Africa will host the inaugural final. We are all excited about it. It's going to kick off on the 5th at the Kingsway 18 Stadium. The final is also going to be in Durban at eThekwini on the 8th. So it's going to be a lot of excitement because the entire continent is coming to South Africa. This is actually one of the first competitions to be held by South Africa, I think, in the last 6 years. So we haven't really hosted any events in the last couple of years as South Africa. So this is an opportunity, of course, for Africa's young talent to be given an opportunity to showcase their talent. But it's not only about football. It's about leadership. It's about career guidance. It's about the young referees, the young reporters. So the next Kwena Moabelo is also going to come from there.
Let's talk about, say, 41 countries and a number of students, but what's the target in terms of the age group? Are these school-going kids? How does it work?
So, the success of rugby and cricket can be traced to schools development, if you really think about it in our country, basically. We literally are replicating, the president of CAF, Dr. Motsepe, is replicating exactly the same process. Actually, he launched this a month into his presidency in Cote d'Ivoire. It's under 15 boys and girls from all over the continent. They represent all sorts of walks of life coming here in South Africa. And this is really about investing in the young people in Africa. And it's going to be an opportunity, again, for the continent. Because everyone says, what is happening in African football? Why are we only discovering players when they are 26 and we call them youngsters? Well, there is a link now between the African Schools Football Championship, the under-17, the under-20, and progressing, therefore, to the senior teams.
You speak about the countries, you said 41 countries, which is almost the entire continent, if you think about it. Yeah, yes, so it's very few that are not part of that. How have the competitions been held? You said, so every country will have its knockout, if I can call it that, phases, and then they all then will come to Durban for the finals.
Well, what happened is that we started last year, as I said, in Mozambique in April, whereby we kicked off the national phase. So each country was hosting its own national championship. In South Africa, I believe they held one already. Then the COSAFA region went to Malawi to have the zonal phase. And so in Egypt hosted one, Cote d'Ivoire, we were in Cote d'Ivoire hosting one. In Cape Verde, they hosted another one. And in Congo-Brazzaville, they hosted another one, and also in Egypt. And then the winners from all these, boys and girls, all these ages, will actually travel to Durban in the next couple of days. So eThekwini is going to be quite colorful with all these different flags going there. And I must take this opportunity to thank the government of South Africa, the new minister. When I spoke to the Minister of Sport, Mr. Zizi Kodwa, Minister Kodwa, he said to me, Lux, I actually want to talk about schools. This is going to be the legacy of my ministry, schools. Now, when you look at this and you look at the vision of our president, Dr. Motsepe, you can see an alignment there. So we look forward to working together with the city of Durban, with the KZN government, with the South African government, with the South African Football Association, and also COSAFA in delivering this fantastic event.
Well, when you talk about giving back to communities, to the continents, we'll always talk about money. And
sure.
The prize money is always one of those things. What are we talking about here? And the sort of give back to the communities, to the regions and the countries that participate in the tournament?
Well, thanks to the support and the donation of the Motsepe Foundation, which contributed $10 million US, thanks to Dr. Precious and the president of CAF, of course, we are able to distribute prize money, which is going to be worth, as I said, $10 million US. What is this money going to be used for? This money is not necessarily going to be given in cash. It's got developmental purpose behind it. So, for example, if you are Kwena Moabelo, you are from Limpopo, you're from a school in Limpopo, you win the championship, you take $300,000, we are going to ask you, what do you need? Okay, you need a library, you need toilets, whatever it is. Or you need a football pitch in your community. So this money is going to be invested back in developing, actually developing schools and ensuring that football development continues in all these respective countries. Already, the money has been, as I said, the prizes started at national phase, whereby it was 100,000. It goes to zonal phase, and now the national winner will take $300,000 US, which is about 5 million rands.
That's some good money.
It's decent money.
It's decent money in the African continent, absolutely. Legacy, you speak about legacy.
Yes.
So this is something that is expected to go on. But beyond this, from the continental winners, what is the expectation? What happens next to make sure that, as you said, we don't then find out about these boys like Kamogelo Mokocho, who we've seen with the under 12, and then suddenly he's 25, and nobody knows what happened in between.
I think you must look at it from this point of view that 2 years ago, when we walked in African football, there were many problems in African football. It's an open secret. And one of them is that nobody has invested in African football. Maybe there were a lot of activities, but there's no investment, there is no foundation. Well, so what this presidency of CAF is doing, and the executive committee of CAF, of course, led by the president, we have to put the foundation and sort the foundation right and ensure that the commercial partners have got confidence in African football, that African leaders are thinking about the future, investing in the future, and doing something about the future. And this competition is an exciting competition because it's the first of its kind. You won't find it in Europe. You won't find it in CONMEBOL. You won't find it in CONCACAF. It's the first of its kind in CAF this time around in Africa, a continent that everyone says, look somewhere else. This is now the best practice. So everyone else is going to look and say, the Africans have done it. Let's also copy it. This is exactly what we want to achieve.
Lux, as we wind down the conversation, let's take a look at some of the first that you're talking about that CAF President Patrice Motsepe has done. I mean, you speak about schools development. We also seeing the Champions League, but more importantly, a lot of improvement in women's football in the continent.
I mean, look, to judge anyone's legacy, you must look at what he promised. You know, and Dr. Motsepe had a 10-point plan for African football. He promised that he's going to introduce VAR. You went to AFCON, for the first time, all the 52 matches were on VAR. At WAFCON, women's WAFCON, which was won by South Africa, for the first time in history, all the matches were on VAR. In CHAN, which has finished now, all the matches were on VAR. Now, he promised investment in women's football. For the first time in 2021, 6 months into his leadership, there was the introduction of the Women's Champions League, which is now on its second year. For the first time, we are seeing women match officials like Salima, like Akwena Makalima, and a number of them, Boshra from Morocco, coming through, officiating in major competition. History was made in Cameroon with Salima being the first woman to officiate. Now, this is not lip service. This is development. And he spoke about ethics and governance. Now, if you look at CAF right now, if you go to the CAF website right now, for example, you find that all the opportunities that are at CAF from a tendering point of view, they are no longer being given to friends. It is now a transparent process. There are governance structures in place, and it's an ethical leadership. Nobody walks in the room and asks, where is the money of Africa going?
Lux, we're out of time, but thank you so much for coming through. So the tournament, 41 countries and thousands of young boys and girls will be in KwaZulu-Natal. From which dates?
Look, from the 5th and the 6th, we are in Umlazi. at Kings Welitini. And of course, afterwards we'll play the final. The final is going to be played on the 8th. It's going to be an exciting one. It's not just going to be football. It's going to be a day full of activities. And we're inviting the people. I mean, the Abazaman, Basadeb, and they're always coming through to support events. And we're looking forward to a packed stadium there to showcase what South Africa is doing.
CAF Head of Operations, Luxolo, September. Thank you very much.